First, I'll start out with a couple of burls. This is some slabs off of a Buckeye Burl here. I got to cut this up into pieces and get them ready for stabilization. Now, yeah, I could just go ahead and cut these into strips, actually 3 strips, and go ahead and start turning them on the lathe to make a pen. But I stabilize everything, so it's an extra step. So if you see pens that aren't stabilized, you know, they're not doing all these other steps. As you can see, there's all the wood's down in there, down in this container, and I put this heavy piece of metal on here, so once I put the solution in, they won't float up at all. Now my wood is down underneath the stabilization fluid. I'm sucking all the air out with this vacuum pump. This takes several hours, by the way. Then they will be baked, and then that's what stabilization is. Once you bake it, the solution is it's heat activated. It turns to a solid, and then the wood will actually, these pieces of wood will actually be probably 3 times their normal weight, because the stabilization fluid goes into the pulp and all the pores, and it actually freezes it in time, so to speak, and it prevents any sort of moisture getting into the wood and causing swelling or anything like that. So it greatly increases the longevity of the pen. It also takes a lot more time to do this, and it's a lot more expensive versus just turning a piece of wood and putting a finish on it. This is an expensive process, but it does greatly enhance the durability of the wood. They're all stabilized, and I let them soak for several hours, and I'm going to take them out of there. As you can see, they're still under the solution. They're all laying on the sheet. Just going to go ahead and run them over the oven real fast here. Here are those pieces after they've been stabilized. See? They've taken on a lot of weight, but they're all ready to go. I got them cut down into more manageable sections. This is what the size of the pen blanks actually look like once I cut them. Cut it out of the slabs. And this one here, this of course will be cast. It'll fill in all this, different colors. And then some of this burl has inclusions, and that's what makes it interesting, is some of these bark pockets and different things. What you do is, while these are already done, you would stick it down inside this mold, down inside of here, and then you mix up the 2-part system that I use of resin, and put whatever colors you might want to put in it. This one happens to be like an orange pearl, and then you just fill it. And then what I do is that I put it into a high pressure vessel for an hour or 2. It pressurizes it and forces out all the bubbles. Here's what they look like once they come out. You can see some of the wood sort of poking through. Now I'll machine these all off, machine them all square on my mill. Here's after I machined them off with the mill. See, it made some really interesting blanks out of these. Now I marked these. What I did is I had to cut each one in half. One's for the top of the pen, one's for the bottom. As you can see now, there's no holes in them. I already started drilling. Here's one with a hole in it. And this is for the brass tubes, which get epoxied in for the blanks. I got all the tubes epoxied in. Now I have to trim them to make sure that they're perfectly square. See the tubes coming out? I got the blanks mounted in the lathe, and I'm going to start roughing them in. I do about between 15 and 20 coats, so it takes a good while, and I'm not going to show it. I'm going to show you starting, and I'm going to show the last coat. I'll just show you one more coat. This is going to be coat number 3. Gotta wait for a while in between all these coats for it to dry. It puts on basically a super hard finish that's maintenance free and lasts for. It's one of the best, longest lasting coatings you could put on pens. So I got about 15 coats on there. Now I start to sand them back level, and I'll go through a bunch of different grits. I'll sand it down. I got 9 separate pads here, which is there's a different sanding grit on each one. And when I get to the final one, they should start to be pretty shiny again, and then I will buff them. Start doing some wet sanding. Do the same through all these grits that I have here. The 9 different grits. Get a nice uniform finish so it shines. Okay, I went through all those 9 grits. Now I'm going to buff them. See the shine come up on them. I'll move the camera over here so you can see how shiny these are. They're not wet. They're just buffed. Here it is with all the hardware. Here's a few of the pens I finished.